You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Hidden Traps is now available in paperback and ebook from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
Do you need a car? Been shopping only to be turned down because of bad credit, low credit, no credit, bankruptcy, or divorce? Guess what? Today's your lucky day, because now you can buy a car, truck, or SUV, just about any vehicle. It's true. Bad credit doesn't matter. No credit doesn't matter. Bankruptcy or divorce, it just doesn't matter. As a matter of fact, your job is your ticket to your new vehicle. We're Auto Credit Express, and we've helped thousands of people just like you. Antonio H. told us, great company, got me connected, and the day I went in, I drove off in the car I wanted. 100% worth your time. Need a car? Get started now and drive off as early as today. Just text FINANCE, FINANCE, to 357-911 right now to get started. That's FINANCE, FINANCE, to 357-911. Auto financing the easy way. Text FINANCE to 357-911.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Everyone loves liberty. Our rights come from God, not the government. So why are you letting other people tell you what's best for your healthcare? Exercise your freedom with Liberty Health Share. Liberty Health Share is a community of people who voluntarily share one another's medical costs. Liberty Health Share is founded on the idea that most people truly want to help one another. Healthcare sharing allows members to do just that as a true community that supports one another in times of need. Liberty believes people should make decisions for themselves and their families. Members are able to take back the freedom to make their own decisions about their healthcare. Freedom from guilt or doubt about how your money is used. You have the freedom to direct your healthcare, not to be dictated to by bureaucrats. Stop letting others tell you what to do and join a community of like-minded people. Exercise your freedom. Join Liberty Health Share and take back the control of your healthcare while helping those around you. Call Liberty at 855-58-LIBERTY. Again, that's 855-58-LIBERTY for more information, or you can check them out at libertyhealthshare.org. Again, that's libertyhealthshare.org.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now. 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
At St. Jude, a family never sees a bill at all. It's like the world has been lifted off of your shoulders.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Sometimes writers feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
Everybody, and welcome to For Immediate Release. I'm Liz Neuerfeld, and I'm joined tonight by Billy O'Reilly, my partner, and we wish all of you a happy Martin Luther King Day, and hope you've all honored him in any way that you find appropriate. I know it's a federal holiday, and most people are off, and the markets are closed, but there are a lot of wonderful community activities going on around the country, and I always find it really heartening to take part in them. So, Billy, welcome. I don't know if you've had a chance to do anything today, but good to talk to you.
Oh, how you doing, Liz? Yeah, I actually had a nice day off. There were a lot of people working today, I found, though. I got a lot of work calls throughout the day, but I hid for most of it, which was nice, and went to go see a documentary and got out of the house a little bit, so it was good. But it's a cold one in the Northeast. Boy, it's I think 17 below wind chill right now, but it doesn't feel anything less than 15 below.
It is bitter. I can remember it. Now, we don't have any snow here. I saw some pictures of, the Midwest, planes going off the runways, on tarmacs and things all across the Midwest with tons of snow and ice and wind, but it is bitter. I think it's going to pick up a little bit over the next couple of days, but it's all anyone's talking about here in New York, that's for sure.
Oh, that's for sure. Even, my dog slipped on the ice, it's a little bit slippery here. Did you catch any of the playoff games yesterday, Liz?
I caught every minute. Well, you know who I'm married to. What kind of question is that? We catch only playoff games. We didn't catch anything else. I think we went through 8 logs, and then fake ones, not to mention the real ones we threw on top of that. But what a couple of spectacular games. I wasn't happy with the outcome, I've got to say, in either game. I was in both cases, I was rooting for the other guys. But so there you go. But wow, it's rare to have games like that back to back.
Yeah, they really were. I agree. They were fantastic games, and I was pulling for the Saints in the first one, and that non-call is gonna stick for a long time. But I became a Saints fan at about 2:30. I was just trying to decide one team over the other. But great games, and Brady was just ridiculous. I mean, here in New York, as you know, there are not a lot of Patriots fans, but just the length of time he's been doing this, you just got to hand it to him. He was out of control. Just amazing.
Oh, their discipline, it's ridiculous. But Mahomes is really something. I mean, when you think that these guys, in his case, he's 23 years old. I think it's his second year out there. It's incredible. It's funny you said it about the Saints. I became a Drew Brees fan after Katrina. When I really got a chance to see what he did for the community and what that team has done for the community down there for so many years. And just to see, there are some cities where the relationship is really special between the teams and the citizens, and the locals. And I think that's one of them. I love those guys. I wasn't really against the Rams, but I sure do like Drew Brees.
There's always a reason to root for a team. You can always find it. I had a grandmother from New Orleans, from Medellin down there, and and Menarie, and so you can always find some connection. But that's right. Drew Brees, I know, has done great philanthropic stuff over the years, and that's got to be a tough one to swallow. But he's a grown up, and he'll deal with it. He'll handle it. But it'll be a heck of a Super Bowl. And it's really viewers are back, and I have a brother working for the NFL, so I don't mean to be shamelessly plugging the numbers from yesterday, but they were crazy good numbers. It was like 54 million or 57 million people watching the AFC title game, which is just amazing.
I didn't see that number. I think we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. I did see how the numbers have inched up over the last couple of months, Thursday, basically almost every Thursday night, Sundays, Mondays. But, look, people want something to rally around. There's not a lot of other good news these days. I think between what's going on with the government and, and some other stuff that it's the fact that families can sit around and watch football for 8 hours, straight with a couple of, bio breaks is a really exciting thing. I don't know what we do in this off week. It's always a problem in our house when there's nothing going on between these two games.
You find yourself falling back into cable news. I don't want to go there. Don't let me, and then you're on, whether it's CNN or Fox or MSNBC, whatever you watch, you're suddenly sucked back into the vortex of hell. So I remember in 2016 watching the World Series, and it was so nice to be watching baseball. It just was, just something other than the elections. It was a really good change. But I'm glad to see the NFL doing well, and nobody's talking about, the national anthem things hopefully behind everybody. I'm not sure what people are doing now or not doing, but I just want to watch the games. I don't care. I do care, but I don't care. You know what I mean?
No, and you know what? There are very few things. In fact, sports might be the only thing left that's live that you absolutely have to watch live. And you don't fast forward through the commercials. You don't DVR the game unless you're traveling in Europe and you have the news blackout and you beg people not to give you the scores. But it is just great. It's the ultimate reality TV. I love it.
I locked myself in my basement yesterday for however many hours it takes to watch two games. It was 5 or 6 hours. And I found myself, I just kept having to say, you got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me. You're talking to yourself. And then texting, friends. But yeah, it was quite a day. And I got to, agree with everybody who's praising Tony Romo for his play-by-play in the second game. He was unbelievable. It was crazy. He's probably going to annoy other broadcasters, but he was so spot on. It was like Oracle at Delphi stuff, going live. Pretty impressive.
Yeah. Hey, Billy, do you know what the demographics are at all on viewership for the NFL? Joel, my husband, used to work for the Boston Red Sox organization for the New England Sports Network. And, the Red Sox happen to have a huge, it's almost 50-50 female-male fans, which is really unusual. And I wonder what the NFL numbers are. Yeah.
I'm not sure. I could get them from Peter, certainly. I don't know what they are, but I bet it's significant because the marketing is so good and the game is it's blended into so many areas of American culture that I'm sure the numbers are really, really high. I'm not sure if it's as good as the Red Sox numbers, but probably pretty good as well. But great stuff. Games like yesterday's, that stuff that lasts for years because you watch football, you watch NFL to get games like that. No question.
Right. Now the fans.
Before I forget, we are gonna have a great guest on tonight. Before I forget, because she's going to be dialing in at 6:15, and I don't want to be caught blindsided not having introduced her to our listeners. I believe you've met Lauren Noble, Liz.
I have.
Lauren Noble.
Years ago.
That's right. In New York, you met her at the Disinvitation Dinner. Lauren Noble is the founder and executive director of the William F. Buckley Jr. program at Yale. And she can talk to us in a few minutes about how she created the program and what it's done, but it's become a major national force and intellectual force. Its mission is to increase intellectual diversity on the Yale campus and beyond. So it's a pretty broad brushstroke there, and lots of room to move. But she's going to be joining at 6:15. So I just thought I'd bring her up in advance so we're not caught off guard.
Well, I'm very curious to hear from her what their relationship is at all with other college organizations around the country. and whether they actually function as leaders of any, the conservative movement on college campuses, or if it's almost exclusively a Yale-focused program.
Yeah, I know they do. They do most of the programming at Yale. And I'll let Lauren answer. I should know all these answers. I'm actually on the board of it, but she can answer with the particulars. But I know, for example, this coming weekend there's going to be the Conservative Ideas Contest that the Buckley program is doing. It's going to be in Old Saybrook, Connecticut this year, and it's actually they invite college students and non-college students from around the country to submit fresh thinking on how to, do things better in America, whether governmentally, but mostly governmentally, how, conservative ideas to save money, do better, deliver things better. And it's wide open, and they pay pretty well. It's like, $10,000 or $15,000 for the winners. But so they do engage a lot of other colleges in the process. But I think a lot of them on the campus, and they bring in amazing speakers. I mean, they get, past presidents, they get, really anybody they want, which is nice.
And how active are you? I know you're on the board, and I know how loyal you are and how committed you are. But is there a big role for you and for the rest of the sort of a board of overseers in the program, or does Lauren really have free reign?
She has pretty much free reign because she built the program and she's done it so successfully. I mean, it's a major force both at Yale and beyond. They do for example. A free speech survey, they use Jim McLaughlin, who's one of the best pollsters in the country, to survey college students, undergraduate and graduate students nationwide a couple of times a year on their attitudes about free speech codes, all that kind of stuff, and they get significant pickup. I mean, when they do that, they get play around the country. We're all way in. I am the least impressive board member, times 10, with some really significant, kind of hitters on there. I volunteered to do some press work basically in my role on the board, and help promote some of those surveys and some of the work that they do. But I guess the answer to your question, Liz, is not enough. I wish I had more time to be involved, but I try and do what I can. And and of course they have which you've been to, Liz, the annual disinvitation dinner, which is just a brilliant idea that Lauren came up with to invite a speaker who has been disinvited from speaking on a college campus in any given year to come and speak at their annual dinner. They had George Will. They had some really great ones. I don't think I can mention who the speaker is this year. Lauren may be able to mention it when she comes on, but I'm not sure if it's a secret or whether it's okay to talk about it yet. But really, really good speakers.
Well, it seems to me that in this day and age, you'd have to have more than an annual dinner. It could be weekly, definitely monthly. I mean, the number of conservative speakers who are welcome on college campuses by all these wonderful free speakers is pretty slim.
This will be at least the fifth, maybe it's five or six of them. And it was Charles Murray was the person last year, the speaker last year. And the year before was Peter Thiel. And that's really good ones. That's really fun. They had Ray Kelly, the former chief of the NYPD, who also did all the work in Haiti. He led the Marine Force in Haiti. Ray Kelly spoke, I guess, 3 years ago. I think you came to that one, Liz.
That was 2016. That was the year that I sat right next to Ed Rollins when, it was during the Republican primary.
Oh, was Ed there for that? Oh, that's fun. Yep.
Yeah. And Morgan Ortega was one of our recent guests.
Yeah, that's right. Morgan was there as well. That's right. And I think we had a few candidates around that ended up running for some Senate offices and others. But it was a really nice room and a lot of fun. And if you can't attend, typically some of the events are available online so that you can follow along. But Lauren's going to be joining in a minute or two, and so that's who Lauren is for when she picks up the line for those listening. But quite a week in politics, Liz. Again, here we are again. It's probably a longer conversation, but the talking about people jumping to conclusions. I think Fox mistakenly announced, Ruth Bader Ginsburg's death today, and that went crazy. Then it was of course, the BuzzFeed story that kind of blew up, and then the high schoolers, the Catholic high schoolers in Washington yesterday. That story, they got really criticized. Now everyone's walking that back. A lot of people jumping on news prematurely, it sounds like.
So the BuzzFeed story was remarkable, or it was actually the response by Mueller's office that was remarkable, and I use the word carefully because or unprecedented actually because he's never done it. But the fact that BuzzFeed ran that story saying that Trump directed Cohen to continue to lie to Congress about his engagement with Trump Moscow and activities over there. It's stunning. And, before Mueller's office came out with the statement, you had, I don't know how many, but let's call it a dozen Democrats from Congress calling for impeachment hearings, calling for Trump to resign, saying if this is it, I mean, not even if it's true, but some of them said if it's true, but some of them just went straight to that's it, it's over, which led to Mueller's statement, just saying that there were pieces of the reporting by BuzzFeed that were either inaccurate or incomplete. I mean, nobody was specific about what the inaccuracies were, and I haven't seen any later reporting today, Billy. But what do you make of all that?
It's interesting. In fact, Ben is going to be on the show.
By the way, BuzzFeed's still standing by the original reporting.
Oh, you know what? Actually, Lauren Noble is on the line, so we can get back to BuzzFeed and to Ben in a little bit. Lauren, how are you?
Hey, Bill. How are you doing?
Oh, doing fine. Thank you so much. It's Liz, your old friend Liz Feld, who I think you met at the disinvitation dinner with Ray Kelly.
Oh, hi, Liz. How are you doing?
Well, thank you so much for joining us. You've been on our most wanted list. I think your picture's up in the Larchmont post office. We know how busy you are, and every week Billy says maybe we can get Lauren this week. So thank you so much for joining us. This is great, and it's a perfect week given what you've got going on this weekend.
Oh well, I'm very glad to be on your show this evening.
Now, Lauren, I gave the listeners kind of a very thin take on the Buckley program at Yale and some of the things that it does, but I think you could walk into a lot more detail. Could you walk the listeners through how this, because you started this, you founded it and you run the program, how this came about, because it's a pretty amazing story, and it's really become something very substantial very quickly. So how did this come about?
Sure. So the Buckley program was founded during and launched shortly after the fall of my senior year of college at Yale. I was taking a seminar on William F. Buckley Jr. and the Rise of Modern Conservatism, taught by Al Felsenberg, who last year in 2017, came out with his biography of Buckley. So he was teaching at Yale at the time, and I've been thinking of starting a speaker series on campus to bring some voices that weren't being heard otherwise in campus discourse. And in taking the seminar, it seemed that Buckley was the perfect person to name such a series for. And within the semester, and certainly with the help of a lot of friends and supporters, the Buckley program was born. And we started off small with just about a half dozen events in our first semester. But in the years since, we've really grown to, we have almost an event every week, sometimes two events. We do everything from firing line debates on public policy issues. We host major lectures with very well-known guests, everyone from Ben Carson to Jeb Bush, Carly Fiorina, J.D. Vance. We host seminars for students during the breaks. And another one of our sort of well-known programs is this annual disinvitation dinner that we host in New York City to give a platform to a speaker who's been denied one on a college campus, be it by a disinvitation or a disruption. So that's how we got off the ground and what we're about.
And Laura, are you able to say who the 2019 disinvitation speaker is or not? I held back because I thought it might still be.
Sure.
Correct. Yeah.
So we just announced last week that Henry Kissinger, the former Secretary of State, is going to be our disinvitation dinner speaker. That's coming up in April of this year. It'll be Wednesday, April 17th, in New York City. So that should be an event not to be missed for sure.
And who uninvited disinvited Kissinger? Yeah. I mean, that's a gift for us.
So Kissinger, he was in October of last year, October of 2018, at NYU. He was disrupted in the course of So he was disrupted not once, but something like 4 times. He was equated with the Nazis and in all sorts of unpleasant comments were hurled his way. And he actually, I was looking at the history of Dr. Kissinger on college campuses, and there was also an instance way back in 2000 that he was disinvited from the University of Texas at Austin. So clearly this disinvitation problem has been going on for a long time. But we're truly honored to have the opportunity to host him as our disinvited honoree this year, and he certainly joins a distinguished roster of past guests.
Well, Lauren, I mean, the irony here, Henry Kissinger gave a beautiful eulogy for President George Herbert Walker Bush just a few months ago, if I recall properly. Right? I mean, if he can speak at the funeral of the 41st president but he gets heckled at NYU, you've got the right honoree. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I think the disinvitation disruption, I mean, he wasn't disinvited from NYU, but he was just very much disrupted. And, I mean, it's the heckler's veto, and I think it's important that people on all sides of the political spectrum stand up and reject that kind of tactic, because it's certainly being employed against people from people all across the political spectrum. There have been plenty of liberals who have also been targeted on college campuses for saying things that might slightly disrupt from some kind of orthodoxy. So it's certainly you're right. If someone of Dr. Kissinger's stature can be disrupted in such a unpleasant kind of way, really, it's civil discourse in this country is not in good shape.
I don't know where college students got the idea that you go to school to demonstrate. I remember I was at NYU in the early 80s, and it was like 83, 84, and I remember there was a demonstration on campus, and I was kind of excited. I was like, what are you guys demonstrating? Is this like Myanmar? Is it, is it Khmer Rouge thing? Like, what's going on here? And they were protesting that the windows they hadn't gotten new windows in the dorms. Like, he's so pathetic, you know? I mean, at least they're demonstrating more significant things. But Henry Kissinger, God, I mean, it just makes you look like an idiot to yell down Henry Kissinger. He's got no sense of it. Lauren, can you talk also about what's going to happen this weekend in Connecticut, in Old Saybrook?
Absolutely. So this weekend on Saturday, the Buckley program will be hosting our second annual Ideas Forum. So we started this contest last year was our first year of holding this event. We solicited proposals from people around the country. It can be the ideas in advancing the ideals of a free society that was William F. Buckley Jr. champion. So they can be proposals for improving society at the federal, state, or local level. So on Saturday, what we'll be hearing are the presentations from our contest finalists. So there's a range of topics that the finalists will be presenting on. From one is on history and civics in education. Another is on water shortages. So really, it runs a range of topics. And last year's event was certainly very exciting to hear, especially young people coming forward with innovative, conservative solutions to problems that the country is facing. And so it's a exciting, engaging, interactive event. And Bill, you're one of our judges this year once again. So we're excited to have you back for that.
Oh, I'm so psyched. It was so much fun last year. I was really amazed. I knew that the ideas would be well thought out and the presentations would be good, but I didn't know how good they would be. And it's just, you had so much thought that went behind the ideas, but I remember last year a lot was tackling student debt. There was some healthcare issues, mental health things, and people really put time into it. And it was impressive. And the dinner is wonderful. Is it still open if anybody is in the Northeast and wants to attend?
Yep. If they just go to our website, www.buckleyprogram.com, and click on events, and they can find a link to sign up there. So yes, there are still a couple days to sign up left. So if any of your listeners happen to be in or around the area, it's really an exciting event to be a part of. I know it was very uplifting for everyone there last year. Especially to see younger people, coming up with these ideas and presenting them with so much enthusiasm and thoughtfulness, but really, I think some ideas that could certainly make a difference in the country.
Lauren, I would love to hear what your sense is of sort of generally the energy and the climate around conservative activism on campuses, and whether you guys partner with or engage with any other communities across the country, or either through the program officially or unofficially, but more really what you're both anecdotally and specifically what your feeling is about the movement and the engagement by the kids coming out of high school and launching their sort of adult political, careers or not just careers, but engagement, at the college level.
Sure. So, our efforts were primarily focused, on Yale's campus, but just over the past few years, we've seen a real surge in interest in our events and programs from students. So we're now just a little over 300 student members of the Buckley program, and that's at Yale. So most of the students are undergraduates, but there are some graduate students mixed in as well. In terms of and I would say we've had strong interest across campus in our events. I mean, certainly our goal isn't just to reach conservative students on campus. I found increasingly there are even liberal students who say, you know what, I wanna actually learn a little bit about what the other side believes and why, and we've found that to be a growing audience at some of our events, which I think is very much a good thing, because on campus like Yale, we're 97, either 96 or 97% of faculty political contributions went to Democrats in 2016. I think it's reasonable that students across the political spectrum would be looking to hear another point of view. So that's something that the Buckley program has been able to offer on Yale's campus. In terms of activism more broadly, I mean, we haven't done a whole lot with other groups around the country. I mean, we did sponsor an effort of an independent campaign for trustee at Yale, so that we did host some events in various parts of the country to spread the word about that, and there was certainly some enthusiasm behind that. But I mean, when we asked the question, I was thinking back to each year we host. Each year we commission a sort of national survey of college students on, free speech and related campus issues. And this year, one of the questions that we threw in was asking the students if they had attended a rally or protest in the last couple of years, and there was a big difference between liberals and conservatives in answering that question. So overall, it was about a third of students had attended a rally or protest advocating for a particular political cause in the past two years. But when you look at the data further, it was about 48% of liberals had attended a rally, but only 19% of conservatives. So certainly, I mean, this is not really shocking. I think in my mind that some people on the left might be more activists than those on the right. But I thought it was an interesting point there.
It is interesting. I was in New York City yesterday, and watching a lot of the demonstrators come home. I was taking the train back up, or was it yesterday or whatever, Saturday, and demonstrators were coming back from the women's rally in New York, and it is, to me, it's just like on that side of the aisle, on the liberal side of the aisle. Not that the women's march is supposed to be left or right, but it's a little bit left. Let's face it. But it's like on the conservative side, like we just don't protest. I mean, to me, if you're gonna I would feel silly protesting. If you're gonna storm the Winter Palace, storm the Winter Palace. You know what I mean? Like you go in there and knock down, take it. But to go outside with a sign and scream and yell, to me anyway, I feel ridiculous. Right. I've never protested in my life, and I'm not about to start now. I mean, like if if it comes time to do something, you go all the way with it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But it shows up in the survey. What other kinds of data was in this year's? I know you don't have it in front of you, but that survey is really fascinating to look at for like the speech codes and First Amendment.
Yeah. So I mean, one shocking statistic was it was something like 40% of students thought it was sometimes appropriate to either shout down or disrupt a speaker on campus. I mean, 40% of students thought that. That really, I think, more than any other question, just stood out the most to me. There was a lot of the results matched up to things that we had seen in past surveys. So, for instance, a majority of students were often intimidated in sharing their ideas and beliefs in class because either those ideas were different from those of their professors or different from those of their classmates. So that's certainly a concerning data point as well.
Well, this almost reflects the mood or the statistics around cable television viewing, right? It's confirmation bias. I mean, people go to they only want to hear speakers on campus whose views they support or believe in. And, I wonder if on more conservative campuses, perhaps maybe Christian campuses or some of the other schools that lean more right than left, there aren't nearly, as we know, there aren't too many, but, it's one thing if you don't support someone, you don't have to go. But the idea that you're going to go shout everybody down to me, first of all, I mean, maybe I'm old-fashioned, but who raised these kids? I mean, I just find this just fundamentally appalling. And again, there's a lot of ways to protest, including vote with your feet and don't show up. But why this total canard that the left is more open-minded or quote-unquote progressive than the right is just completely undermined by what you just said, the statistics. And I hate to put labels on things, but that's exactly what we're talking about here. No one's open-minded of.
Yeah. It's now back in 2014, we actually had the Buckley program actually hosted Ayan Hirshfield Lee on Yale's campus, and she's a courageous activist for the rights of women in the Muslim world. And in advance of her coming to campus, word had gotten around that she was coming to give a lecture, and there was an open letter that was circulated, condemning the Buckley program for hosting her, and saying that she's not qualified to speak on the subject. And what was really what really shocked me was there were several women's groups that signed on to that letter, and Ayan Hirshfield Lee certainly had life experience. That they were saying that somehow she wasn't even qualified to be talking about things that she had experienced herself. I mean, fortunately, that event, there was pressure to have her disinvited, and we, of course, didn't do that. And it ended up there were a couple protesters outside of the event handing out pamphlets, and they were peaceful, and that's fine. That's free speech too. There were several standing ovations for Ayan Hirshfield Lee during the lecture, and it all went very, very smoothly. But unfortunately, there's sort of a tendency on some campuses for people to give in and say yes to disinviting someone at a request by a small group of students very often. I do think there's sort of it's the most activist students who are very often the loudest and who get the headlines, and they're the ones you see out protesting and shouting down speakers. But I think there are a lot of students who are just in college to learn and don't want their whole education to be politicized, and are open to hearing different points of view, but aren't necessarily looking to make a stand in either direction. And in this age of social media mobs and all of that, that's frankly rather understandable. Why make yourself a target? When people are shamed for saying things that really aren't actually offensive and bad. So that's it's certainly, I think, something that people on all sides have to be principled about standing up for free speech when it's endangered by anyone. And free speech should certainly speech should, in the exchange of ideas, should flow very freely on college campuses, and that's something that we all have to work together to improve.
Lauren, do you find that getting better? I mean, I know the Buckley program. You had some famous protests against speakers. I'm thinking of that Halloween debacle. Where I think the program was holding a program on free speech on campuses, and it got shouted down. Is that getting better now? Do you sense? I'm looking at the data. If anyone wants to go on buckleyprogram.com, there's a news section in there, and you can look at the polling data from the latest survey. But do you find that getting better? I'm looking at encouraging things here. Capitalism is a net positive 14, pretty good. Mm-hmm. And social negatives is good,
Yeah, and there are in those annual surveys we put out, like there are always several bright spots. I mean, on the whole, undergraduates, we started doing these surveys. We did our first one in 2015, and every year we've put out one of these surveys. The vast majority of students nationwide have expressed general support for the First Amendment and the principle of free speech. It's really when you get down into the specifics, and you press certain issues that you realize that I think some students have different understandings of what free speech actually means. So there's a sizable a part of the population that thinks that hate speech is not protected under the First Amendment. And look, I don't like hate speech. I think hate speech is something though that should be responded to with more speech and better speech. And I don't think you get anywhere by I think there's a lack of clearly, I think a lot of students are going into college with these ideas about free speech and what that, means. So, there are some bright spots, generally speaking. But when you get down to the specifics, that's where it gets to be more concerning. But yeah, I mean, that conference that we hosted in 2015, we had planned it months in advance. It was on the future of free speech. It was, we had this great lineup of speakers. We had everyone from Greg Luciano, who is the head of the Foundation for Individual Rights in Education. We had as our keynote speaker Senator Ben Sasse. We had a really great lineup of speakers, and it just so happened that the conference ended up taking place the day after the very well-known incident that occurred in the Silliman courtyard with the screaming at the master there, and what ended up happening is one of the speakers at our conference the following day was
just about the Halloween conference.
Yeah, was talking about the reaction to the Christakis email, and some people at the conference. We had some alumni and supporters there. I think we're kind of like, well, but what did the email actually say that provokes that reaction? And he said, no, like this is what happened. You know, that's what people were reacting to. And Greg Lukianoff, who was saying this, made the comment that it was as if Erica Christakis had burned down an Indian village, implying that, you know, burning down an Indian village would be a very bad thing. And
right.
Yeah, and that comment, you know, ended up being posted on social media. Within probably less than a half an hour, there were at least 100 students gathered outside of the classroom where we were hosting the conference, you know, chanting, you know, genocide is not a joke. There were actually students, there was a student who was, you know, spat upon in trying to go to the conference. You know, he was, it was not a great moment on Yale's campus. But yeah, I mean, we had planned that conference months in advance, and it certainly free speech was certainly a very relevant issue at the time. But you know, I certainly couldn't have predicted it being as topical as it ended up being that particular week on that particular campus.
And Liz, I'm just going to quickly, I know you have a question. I'm just going to cite in the survey, 41% of undergraduate college students in America, according to the 2018 survey, agree that it's sometimes appropriate to shout down and disrupt a speaker on campus. 41%. That it's sometimes appropriate to shout down and disrupt a speaker.
And the justification is they're feeling threatened, they're offended, their values are offended. I can only imagine what's behind the response. Mm-hmm. But, you know, I wanted to ask you another question, Lauren, about engagement around more sort of national activities, what the program does, how you feel the students feel about whether it's, you know, Trump or who's going to run for president in 2020, the candidates, the prospective candidates on the Democratic side, and also if there was any role at all in supporting the March for Life last week in Washington, if it even got any attention at all on campus, or if all the attention went to the Washington D.C., you know, the organizers, the women's march. Actually, it turned out to be a little bit of a controversy since a lot of the more well-known Democratic women did pull out.
Yeah. So in terms of support for Trump, I mean, I haven't taken, you know, a survey of students involved in the Buckley program. Like I said, you know, we certainly get a political mix of students who end up being attracted to our program. So, you know, we have everyone from, you know, Bill Buckley loving conservatives to curious liberals. So I would say there's certainly a mix of a range of views towards the president and you know, all the various marches happening in the country. So I don't have a very good answer for that question.
Okay. No, I understand.
You know, I think it's yeah. Go ahead, Liz.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I'm just looking at some of the data here. Like, 53% say that this is not just the Yale campus. This is campuses across the country. Undergraduates, 53% say they often feel intimidated sharing ideas, opinions, or belief in class. because they're different than those of the professors. That's a lot. You know, I mean, and you have 54% opposing speech codes with 38% of undergraduates favoring speech codes. Those ideas, which I consider just illiberal, in the traditional sense, those ideas have really seeped into a generation of college students. And so I think it's wonderful that the program is pushing back a little bit and pushing the notion of why would you want a speech code? Why would you shut someone down when your argument is better than theirs? You said exactly, Lauren, you answer speech with better speech, with smarter speech.
Right.
And, there's a temptation to hurl the Molotov cocktail, but there's a way, you win on better ideas. And that was Buckley's legacy, and what you're doing to advance it is just incredible in a new generation of leaders.
Right. And, look, I mean, there are plenty of people, there are plenty of people who, want to see college campuses as sort of political battlegrounds, and I don't think that that's a healthy thing, really. But very frequently there are several sort of provocateur type people who love going to campuses and making people upset, sort of the Milo types. And I mean, honestly, I think for students who disagree with those speakers, I mean, yeah, you could go and challenge them on their ideas and ask the tough questions, but if they're really just there to sort of make a show about it and not really engage in thoughtful discussion and dialogue, I mean, why bother going? I mean, I think with a lot of these provocateur types who upset people, if they had an empty auditorium, they're not going to get the attention that they want to get. So I think the activists often make a big mistake by causing violence and disruption and all of that at these events, when honestly, I mean, there are so many other better things that they could do in response or with their time than do that. And yeah, I mean, going back to William F. Buckley, on his long-running show Firing Line, he engaged so many people with whom he disagreed with, whether it's socialists or economists or unionists, other activists, so I mean, I think that's a model for civil dialogue, and it's certainly possible to have productive conversations with people whose political views don't match up with yours. And I think it's unfortunate that a lot of students are missing out on that experience, or even just sort of not even just missing out on it for themselves, but really just trying to push that out of the realm of what's possible. Because I think we that's just something that beyond college campuses is just missing in our society, and I hope it's something that will make a comeback.
I think it will, and I think it already is, actually. Hey, Lauren, we're going to be jumping off the show in a few minutes. I just want to thank you so much for coming on. Can you come back at some point? We would love to have you on as a guest regularly, because you have such a vantage point, like on a key college campus, and ideas move around the country. And so yeah, we'd love to have you back on if you're able to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I
we'd love to hear
that too.
Yep. We'd love to hear you report out, what happens next week, all the new ideas that are bubbling up and to hear if there's consensus around some big things or if there were a lot of disparate ideas, and also just the quality and the level of the talent that I'm sure you're going to see will be exciting for everybody to hear about.
Sure.
I'm grateful you joined us, and your leadership is exactly what's needed everywhere. So thank you for doing what you're doing. It's encouraging, and inspiring, and it's fun, and it's great to hear your energy.
Well, thank you so much for having me on. Appreciate it.
Great, thank you. Laura Noble, founder and executive director of the William F. Buckley Jr. program at Yale. Thank you so much for joining for Immediate Release. And we'll be talking to you soon.
All right,
thanks everybody. Good night.
All right, bye-bye.
Thanks, Lauren.
And Billy, that's it.
We have a couple of minutes left.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
We got in trouble last week.
We did. We went way over. I can't do math.
So what are you thinking? Let's do a quick roundup on these candidates who all jumped in the race. Kamala Harris, I saw her announcement today. She's impressive. I said, as a candidate, she's articulate and smart, and she's got quite a track record. It was interesting, and when I say track record, I mean years of experience, although she's only been in the U.S. Senate since 2016, but I don't know if you've caught any of the clips today, but her pitch, she came right out of the gate running as a national security advocate, and was very careful to say that the left has got to get over its bias against law enforcement, and that her years as a prosecutor, both as a DA and attorney general, taught her that there's balance, and that community policing is critically important, and she's represented victims. Not unlike Jeanine Pirro, frankly, in that kind of background. So she's certainly not signing up to the, abolish ICE and everybody who wears a uniform is the bad guy.
I think that's really interesting. I mean, she's recognizing that there have to be different lanes available for different candidates, but I think also that she's going to be criticized by the real crazy left because she was a district attorney and she was a former attorney general of California. So she has worked in law enforcement. If she's going to be criticized for it, she may as well double down on it, and she may as well stand behind it because she's going to get hit. But that's I think that's good news for anybody. I'm not a Democrat, but if you want a Democratic Party that's not totally nuts, I think that's really, those are welcome words.
Well, her exact words, she said, keeping people safe is one of the things that motivates me the most, or more than anything else. And she talked military power and diplomatic power and working with our allies. And it's just surprised me. Certainly Elizabeth Warren, we know what her message is on the, she's got the economic message. But and Gillibrand, I don't want to spend a minute on her.
Yeah, it wouldn't even waste of time. I mean, with all due respect, but
no.
No. But Kamala Harris, I think, is one of the more significant ones. And
I do too.
there's bound to be possibly 24. But you know what? I think our time is up. I think I'm doing my math right. Our time is up. So Liz, it was great talking to you again this week. And
and thanks for arranging Lauren's. Yeah, thanks for arranging Lauren's participation. What a treat she is. I'm looking forward to having her back.
Brilliant, fantastic. But anyway, thank you everybody. Yep. And we will talk to you Monday.
Perfect.
Very good. Night.
Majesties over the fruited plain. But now wait a minute, I'm talking about America, sweet America.